Most of us carry questions we never say out loud. Questions about loss, identity, contradictions, and what it means to be human. This podcast is a place to sit with these questions without rushing towards answers. I'm Aya Karuni, and this is You and Aya. This episode is sponsored by Carbon Coffee Lounge on 33rd and A in Lincoln, Nebraska. All right. Today's guest is Raymonn Adams. Raymonn Adams is all about positive reaffirmation. He's even written a book called Affirmation to Transformation. It's an amazing book. But today's episode was so interesting with him because, backstory is I met Raymonn last year in 2025 after I was fired from a job that I hated. But then I had the time to go to coffee shops all around Lincoln and work on season 2. The poems. And of course, I met Raymonn while I was on the phone, and he was sitting right next to me at the Mill and Innovation Center. And he looked at me, he's like, "Where's that accent from?" And the rest is history. We connected. It turns out we both lived in Arkansas. We both have the same story of legacy and fulfillment and being true to yourself and going inwards to become who you are, etc. You'll have to watch the episode. But it was so cool because at that time we all actually recorded an episode, a full episode at the Mill. Shout out to them, thank you. But we're taking a different route because we're with Carbon Lounge today. But yeah, and I contacted him. I was like, "Hey, let's redo it. It's a whole other season." And thankfully he said yes. But Raymonn Adams is so cool. He is such a positive person, an inspiration for many. So I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. He's really, really cool. To be continued. And of course, like and subscribe and all of the above. All right, today we have Raymonn Adams with us. Raymonn, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm excited to really be here and get a chance to connect with you again.
Me too. I'm so glad that you're here because the background of this, we've already met last year and now it's a redo. And I'm so excited you said yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. So let's dive straight into who is Raymonn.
That's a pretty interesting question. Honestly, if I think about who is Raymonn, when I was youngster, we used to have this magazine sitting on the table called Jet. And I used to look in that Jet magazine, and I used to see some of like the really cool, iconic people in the world of news and entertainment and culture. And I just remember just like really wanting to be a jet setter. And so if I could say who is Raymonn, I would say it's more of like a creative jet setter, because I have so many ideas that I love to start and execute on. And I feel like that creative energy has always been within me, now turning into more of an entrepreneur, but at the same time, just creating ideas and concepts that I feel like can help the world.
Nice. Wow. You're a jet setter then, or a trend setter. That's amazing. Yeah, that's, so I know you wrote a book and I don't want to immediately dive into it because it's it gets really personal in here, but I want everyone to know more about your childhood. How did Raymonn become to be who he is today? Because as you know, this podcast is about people reaching their own definition of success. And then nobody knows the story behind the scenes,
Absolutely.
like the struggles, the challenges that you went through. So I kind of want to touch base on this. You wrote a book about positive affirmation to transformation. And I read this book in one sitting because it was an easy read, but yet so powerful because there's so many things in it that we don't really think about as we go through life. So do you want to start off of how did you grow up with, and then how did you end up being who you are today?
That's a pretty interesting story. I think that everybody have an experience, right, that shapes and molds who they become. And sometimes it can be a positive one. It can also be a negative one, right? But I also think that the positive and the negative is like yin and yang. And if you could always see life, no matter if it's positive or negative, especially negative, it's always something that you can redeem from that negative experience. And when I was younger, I don't think I understood it in that way, or I could articulate it in that way. But however, I grew up with a mother who always spoke power into me. And that's the reason for the book, because I realized, after coaching a lot of athletes, I realized that a lot of athletes' self-talk was negative. And I started to do a lot of studying and going through my own, I guess, lowest moments in my life. And I started to realize is that the moment that we start to listen and hear people speak, we're starting to shape our inner self-talk, right? And the people who can really cement that self-talk, whether it's positive or negative, is the people you love most, which is mother, father, grandma, grandpa, and the people that you trust. The people that you're vulnerable with are the people who could actually change the way that you talk to yourself. And so the book was pretty much a kind of a tribute to my mother, who always spoke power into me. And I started to realize the difference of how my mental self-talk was very strong. No matter living in a trailer house with no food, no lights, no electricity at times, I still always seen that there was going to be a bigger day tomorrow.
So your mom is the biggest positive influence in your life when it comes to like how you perceive yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, again, and I got a chance to grow up and experience some of the stories that she told me that she grew up with. And I'm saying to myself, I have nothing to complain about. I have nothing to complain about when I get a chance to hear some of her stories.
Yeah.
So yeah, and when you see that, she could have been probably saying that early on when I was a youngster, not understanding it. And I probably would have interpreted that totally different, and it would have been bad. But now when she gave it to me age appropriately to where like I can process it and understand like, whoa, wait, like people are experiencing some very, very terrible things at the same time. Being able to live through those moments and come out strong on the other side.
Yeah, yeah. So I know sometimes it's just so hard. We know certain things, okay? We know about positive affirmation. We know things that are good for us. We know things that are bad for us. But then when it comes to those tiny implementation to like really get in the zone of, for example, implementing positive affirmation to us, like what would you tell to people that they're like, I don't believe in that stuff. This is my destiny. I'm just stuck here. Like, what would you tell these people that are like, this is real? Like, you can really change your life by the way you talk to yourself.
Yeah, you know, if you think about it, like language is instruction, right? If you think about it, no matter what language you speak, there is instruction in that language, whether it be English, Spanish, German, no matter what, you're saying something to instruct, right? And so when you think about the spelling, obviously there is a spell, but at the same time, you think about instruction. If I don't have communication, it's going to do one of two things. It's going to create partnerships, it's going to create wars, one of the two. And so if you don't have an opportunity to where you can communicate properly or communicate in a way that allows whoever's listening to be able to interpret it in the correct way, especially a child or a youngster, well, then they begin to believe and think or trying to make switch their paradigm around of like how their environment is set up for them. So if you look at a kid who lives, again, poorly, maybe in a trailer house, no food, no light, no electricity, if he also have a negative parent, that's a totally different outcome of how that person sees themselves, right, in their environment. But if you see a kid who lives in that very same environment, but no matter what, they appreciate where they are and they're hearing positive things about themselves versus their environment, then that's a totally different individual as well, too. Because it doesn't matter your upbringing as far as where you live, right? It's much more about who influenced you and how much they've influenced you in a negative way or a positive way.
Yeah. So let's back up about your childhood just a bit, because I know your mom was a positive influence. She put all these positive things like in your head, just like believe in yourself, you can do it, Raymonn. But what about your dad? What was that influence to you?
Yeah, I didn't grow up with my pops.
Okay.
And I think that, truthfully, the first time I ever remember getting a chance to connect with him is when I was getting in trouble in school a lot, right? And when I was a youngster, I had no idea that I was doing this, but I remember being, in junior high and walking in the hallways, and I used to actually have to wear hand-me-downs from my sister and
We've
my
all
brother,
been there.
right? And instead of me wearing, I guess all the boy clothes, I wear a pair of girl kids, and I don't think I could live that day down.
I bet you look stylish though.
Yeah, I was clean. I was extremely clean. I was extremely clean, but I was wearing girl kids and somebody's jogging suit. And I thought I was really fly that day. But boy, they ate me up. But I remember, just being in that environment where I felt really like, I wouldn't say targeted, but more so just ashamed, because I started to realize at that point in time, like, we didn't grow up we had no money, right? And my mom worked her tail end off, but obviously she was just paying the bills is what she could actually do, and she made ends meet. But just that whole entire opportunity of seeing other kids have a lot and we had nothing, I think I woke up at a very young age realizing that we didn't have very much, and I think that created a lot of shame for me as a youngster. And you try to hold it in, and then you start to respond in different ways. But in regards to my pops, I never knew who he was until started getting in trouble. And then my mom was like, "Look, you becoming a handful. I'm gonna send you out here to your dad, and hopefully he can actually talk some sense into you." And I remember the first time ever really traveling. Me and my brother got on the plane, and we were very young. I mean, maybe 11 years old, if not 10. I just remember going out there, but I was hell in school because I started to feel embarrassed and shame, and I was trying to fight back. I was trying to protect that young kid who had, just some scars from the people who would say, mean things, and nobody wants to be poor, right?
Yeah.
But the truth is, kids don't know they're very mean, and they don't know they're being mean. But that is when I got a chance to get flown out to my biological dad, who at that point in time I've never seen in my whole entire life.
Oh, how was that experience?
You don't know what you don't know, I don't think. And what's unfortunate, I think that a lot of us grew up in an environment where we were just raised by single mothers, and that was the norm, which I don't think that's a good thing. However, it was what it was for a lot of us. And so it was like, I'm finna go out here and meet, and I'm going out here and meet this guy who's supposed to be my dad, like my father, right? The person who created me. But I never knew who he was. I never knew much about him, right? I only knew that he was my father, and I never met him. But I realized later on in life that it was a part of me acting out in the ways that I did because of that sort of insecurity and or negative mindset of, not ever being, I guess, corrected by a strong male figure in my life.
I see. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about that kind of stuff. First, you're meeting someone that you've never met, but also he's your biological father, and he's kind of like, I'm gonna send you to him if you act up. So it's like, is this a threat? Like, what is this supposed to teach me? But yeah, you look around these days, and like, there's a lot of single mother raising kids, and I don't know what it is with the society where like fathers are never like available for us for some reason. It's always the mothers that are doing most of the work, and yeah, it's kind of sad. So thank you for sharing that. So what was the turning point? So there was shame, there was protection for Raymonn, there was his mom that fed all these positive affirmation. But when was it for you that you decided was like, I'm gonna put all of that aside and I'm gonna focus on me to get where I want to go?
It was a moment in my life where I remember like it was yesterday, and I just remember being, I got in trouble at school, another fight, right?
Troublemaker.
And my mom would usually take me to my uncle's house, and I would get my butt whipping there, right? And what would be crazy is, we just expected you're going to get reprimanded for anything you get out of line on. Well, I remember this time my mom came and picked me up from school, and instead of taking me to my uncle's house, she ends up just taking me to the mall. And she bought me some shoes, some clothes, and even I think my favorite Nutty Bar treat.
Okay.
Right? Nutty Bars, I love those things.
Yeah.
But and I just remember feeling more love than punishment, right? I feel like I felt more love and then like listening versus just like closing off, hey, you did it, that's it.
Okay.
And for whatever reason in that moment, I just felt like that felt different. And I don't know if it was an age thing, and I don't know if it was just a, me paying attention and becoming more cognizant. But I remember that day, I was like, that felt different. That felt good. And I end up being like, I'm actually going to make my mother smile.
Okay.
Because it was painful, especially experiencing like what would happen at the house. And she was never like, again, she was always positive, but believe me, when we got in trouble, there was consequences.
Yeah.
But I just remember being like, I'm going to make her smile versus make her cry. And at that point, I just remember being in a situation where it's like, I'm finna change some things. And I did. And so it was crazy how it happened. And I don't know if, I had some sort of leadership skills at an early age, but it didn't matter what other influences did around me. At that point in time, it was about me making sure that I made my mother smile versus cry.
Okay. So it was kind of an act of kindness of your mom to be like, okay, I'm not going to punish him this time. Maybe she saw that, maybe that you felt all of these insecurities, and she's like, maybe going to the mall will fix this. Maybe I can make him smile. Maybe she wanted to make you smile before you ever did. So now let's fast forward now to this. So you left home and you pursued football. How did, what's the transition from Raymonn living that life of like shame and just like not wanting to accept this lifestyle to becoming who he is today, like moving after that incident of, I want to make my mom smile?
Yeah, I think it was like a success chain. In other words, like I would do something really, really good that was positive, and I would want more of it and more of it, more of it, more of it. And I think it just was stacking those things, right? And the more I seen me doing positive things, the more positive things started to happen around me a lot. And I think that's where the opportunity of where my mother saw it, not started. She was always spoke power into me, but at the same time, it was never feeling like I was being talked at. And I started interpreting what she was saying differently. And I started interpreting the people around me differently. And so it started with me just seeing it differently, totally from a standpoint in which my actions started to change, right? And so what was crazy is all of a sudden I started to get into sports, and I got a chance to play football when I was like in the 6th grade or something like that. And I started loving it. I was able to take the aggression out there. Then all of a sudden I started being really good at football and became a good track athlete, and one of the top hurlers in the United States out of high school, and several Division I offers. And that became more my identity at that point of like, this dude literally has a physical gift. He also have the ability to take that physical gift and also lead others. As much as I didn't know I was leading others, I was at the time. And again, I think it was a combination of life experience and environment, mother speaking power into me starting to actually catch on to those positive things and really starting to couple them together. And I think that's what really changed a lot for me. And that's where things started to just go upward, right? But never in the time where, even when I was living in a trailer house with no food, no lights, no electricity, there was a day I felt like there was a doomsday coming. And it was, I can really tie that to how my mother spoke often.
Wow. So your mother is pretty powerful. Like, she's like main figure for you. Like, do you think your life would have been different if you had a mother that just kind of was like, well, it is what it is. Let's, you do your own thing.
It's very different because now I'm in this line of work of helping people actually face fear and develop supreme self-esteem. I'm starting to realize that a lot of people, parents, is the main culprit of why they feel so negative about themselves.
Hence this book, I'm guessing. We're going to get into it in a second. So, okay, so at one point you realize that if you speak positive to yourself and if you keep that chain going, things around you just kind of automatically become positive. And there's this like spiral that's like, wait, it's connected. Like there's this energy that kind of builds up to the positivity, right?
Yes. Okay. Have you ever heard this phrase called, or said, and it was like, where there's smoke, there's fire? I think that's the very same thing when it comes down to your your mindset, right? Where there is smoke, there is fire. In other words, there is fire before you ever see smoke. Smoke is just the aftermath, right? So therefore, what's burning inside of you is what you're actually saying and thinking, and you continually replaying in your mind, right? And whether we want to believe it or not, whether it's a positive or negative scene, we are still replaying those things. It's just silent because it's not very loud because we don't have to learn it anymore. Our subconscious mind hears it at its very, very lowest levels or volumes, but it's still there and it's still operating, right? And so for me, that's how I would actually explain, like, understanding how how a person's positive mindset comes from the voices they heard before, how they interpreted those voices, and then now they're replaying it. And that right there will change directions for most people, because I've grown up with friends who have a different environment, and I see it now clearly of what they're doing in their life and how they actually respond to stimuli or just traumatic situations.
Interesting. So, okay, so in the book, so normally when someone goes through something bad, that's when like they write books. They're like, I'm gonna give this book. This book is gonna be like an extension or a legacy of me to like help others because I didn't have it. But with you, it's actually the opposite way. You had that positive affirmation in your life already. So this book, from what I understood, is like for mothers, right? For parents,
Yes.
mothers, to help their children implement those positive influences in their life, right? So
Yes.
like why did you want to do it? You already had it, but there was an importance to you that you continue. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think the tribute of it, obviously to my mother, but at the same time, I feel like I had to get it out for a couple of reasons. Because although affirmation to transformation, how to raise happy and self-confident kids with bulletproof self-esteem, with utilizing affirmations, was really my way of coming in the back door to where the parent can see, like, hey, if I need to be the one who speak power into my child, well, then who's speaking power into me? Like, what was my route? What was my road? Right? So therefore, now they can say, oh, well, if it's me controlling this, what did my mother, what did my father, what did my caregivers say to me? And what am I operating on that I don't know I'm operating on? And that is when I wanted to get this out there so that I can come to Buffalo status, which is the 4-step process that I feel like is changing a lot of people's trajectory of developing self-esteem.
So do you want to tell us more about the buffalo status? You explained it to me a while ago about the cow sees the storm, it runs away, but the buffalo heads straight to
Yeah.
So tell us, is the buffalo status related to this book, or is that a complete different project?
Everything is mindset.
Okay.
So yes, there is some sort of connection to it, but mostly affirmation is that part. And once you understand why you operating the way you're operating, then affirmations is those things to where it's like continually refining and aligning what you want out of life. Because if you have a whole bunch of remnants underneath those covers, or remnants underneath the skin, or whatever just not good, and it needs to be cleaned out, well, you got to do that work first.
Yeah.
And then the affirmations are the things that allow you to continue to keep it moving in the right direction. And so in regards to Buffalo status, I got to tell you the story behind it is I just remember being going through my darkest time, right? I end up going through a divorce, and I just felt, again, just a deep shame, a deep feeling of failure. And again, it was public. And in that situation, I just remember just like going into this dark place. And I remember sitting at my apartment. And in my marriage, there was a source of contention of finances all the time. No matter if we had it or if we didn't, it was just a source of contention, like for whatever reason. And I just remember just sitting on my couch, laying flat on my back. And I started thinking of finances, and without moving, I felt like there was like just weight, like I was lifting pounds on my back, on my shoulders.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, what is that feeling? Like, why am I feeling that particular way, right?
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I just got tense, and I'm like, wow, what happened there? And that was the first time in my life where I was able to really make the connection that our thoughts become things, because I was sitting there literally not even moving. And end up feeling that sort of intense weight feeling on my back, because I've lifted weights my whole entire life. And when you squat, you're putting weight on your back, like thousands of pounds. Well, I didn't lift 1,000 pounds, but it's heavy weight. And I remember just being like, whoa, that's a different feeling. And what was that? And I feel like the human spirit has a natural fighting spirit until it's beaten out of us. And so my fighting spirit has always been title bout worthy. In other words, I've always fought, like no matter what I feel, I always try to fight out of those feelings. And that's when I just started doing more research and studying and growing. And all of a sudden, I created this process, this 4-step process for myself to get back to where I feel like I was more decisive and not fearing things, and just creating a life that I once started creating for myself, especially especially coming from a trailer house with no food, no lights, no electricity, to being the first person in my family to graduate college, and then going and playing professional football, and then coming back and then starting technology companies, etc. I just needed to get back to that, right?
Yeah.
And so that 4-step process became this thing that I would use on myself, and I just started, trending back up. And I remember a friend of mine one day, she said something and it triggered me to actually walk her through my 4-step process. And so I ended up walking her through the 4-step process, and she came back to me like 2 weeks later and said, "Hey, you remember when you told me this?" I was like, "Yeah." "And you told me this?" "Yeah." And that and that. And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I did all 4 steps exactly like you said. And I kid you not, I literally just went and told, I literally just told me, did exactly what you said." And within like a 4-day period, she ended up getting a $35,000 raise, and called her title. Like she was like,
Nice.
"Hey, my title is this now," because it's like I went through that whole entire process. And so I'm like, "Oh, well, that's legit." So then at the same time, like, that worked for us, cool. Well, then there was another friend and a couple of other friends. I would walk them through the process, and they didn't know I was walking them through this 4-step process. And they too came back to me and said, "Dude, now this right here changed, and I did exactly what you asked me to do, and it just changed everything." And so this is when I end up saying to myself, "Well, man, I might be on something big here. Like, what is this?" And I started doing more research, and come to find out, it's a scientific-based way to face fear, because our brains has a structure and a process in which how it's going to problem solve, right, and or keep you safe. And so that is when I was like, this is bigger than me. And so I have to, with my branding background, I'm saying to myself, I have to make this thing something that the community can really have for themselves, or they can actually wear on their own chest and believe in. And so that's when I came up with that 4-step process. And so if you don't mind me saying or asking or telling you how I came up with the brand or the name.
Yeah.
So in certain parts of the country, cows and buffaloes roam the same plain. And in those plains, there are storms happening. And when a storm is coming, the cow recognizes a storm is coming. They see it, they turn the opposite direction, and they run away from the storm. But you and I know a cow is fat and slow. Inevitably, inevitably the storm catches up to them, and it prolongs the pain and agony they're going to experience by running away from the storm. So they stand right in the middle of it as it's moving with them, right? But what's interesting, unique about the buffalo is the buffalo recognizes a storm is coming. And it identifies that it's coming down from that ridge, and then it actually heads toward the storm. Because the buffalo instinctively know that I only have to endure this for a brief moment, and be able to see on the other side of it, to where if they can endure for just a brief moment, on the other side of it is calmer winds and sunnier days. And so this is when I really learned and came around to the whole idea that if you're on the other side of it with calm winds and sunnier days, that buffalo instinctively knows that all he has to do is just endure it just for just a brief moment. And so then I started to really craft that idea that, well, then if you reach buffalo status, then you've become instinctive about facing your fear. And so that is why I call my 4-step process buffalo status.
The buffalo status. Is that the
The
logo?
This is the brand. And what's interesting about the brand is you see it, and maybe it'll make sense to you in a second, but the buffalo status, I didn't want a buffalo, because it's more of the spirit of the buffalo. But what I would like for people to be able to get out of this is that they're trained to head to a greater destination, right? Because we don't face fear just to stay stagnant. We face fear to get to a greater destination. And so what is that greater destination? And to me, that's supreme self-esteem. If you can get to supreme self-esteem, then, bro, you're humming in this world totally different than the average person who maybe be chucked with full of insecurities and a lot of things that they're struggling and experiencing. But most of the things we can change is from our mind, right? So the brand is by a great creative director in the name of Sex Rexilius, who's here in town of Wonderwild. He's an amazing guy. Again, great person to connect with. But the idea of buffalo and the bee and the way it's elongated with the equal signs in it is saying that you must be equal to that which you desire. And so the manifestation aspect of it is also in the brand, is to understand it like you cannot become something until you are that something. So you must be equal to that which you desire, and then those things will literally start to fall in the front of you.
Wow. This whole time I thought it was an equal sign. It's all I could see, but now I see the bee on this. Yeah. That's beautiful. So do you think as humans we struggle to become who we really are, because in our heads we think that we are like ready to do it, but we're just not there yet. It's like, but I'm doing X, Y, and Z, so why am I not there yet? Do you think that could be like a big reason why we're not like, I don't deserve it, it's not really what I need to be, but it's like, but why am I not getting there? It's like that resistance of back and forth.
Yeah, I think if I can explain it in very brief way, I would say that it's we all trying to follow a blueprint that no one has given us the blueprint to.
Okay.
And that creates some sort of anxiety, right? That creates some sort of insecurity, because I would say, I go out and build this particular thing, and you know for a fact that there needs to be a blueprint that you can build a sturdy foundation on, right? But at the same time, you know you have to you're tasked with building this, but then you ask for the blueprint, and no one is telling you where the blueprint really is, but you're being asked to do it and do it really, really good, right? To where people are going to count on you that this thing is built well. Well, the blueprint seems to be missing, but people are telling you that you need to be following the blueprint. And that in itself creates some sort of like disconnect, right? And I feel like everyone in this world is trying to follow the blueprint, whether that be a career lady or being a stay-at-home mom, or that's being like running, going trying to be a CEO somewhere. All these different roads you can take. Everyone is trying to follow a blueprint. And I feel like the blueprint sometimes becomes scarce. Like, hey, what should I be doing? And all of a sudden, too many blueprints get toppled on top of each other, and then you end up building something that you think has a sturdy foundation, but it's really not. And I feel like most people have been lied to of how life really is, because I think that most parents didn't know, right? And I don't think that any parents know when they first have any kiddos of like how to really do this thing. So I really feel like that's one of the things that's really holding a lot of people back and making them feel like they cannot become who they want to become, because they're trying to follow a blueprint that was given to them, yet they got to realize that it's their own blueprint they need to actually be developing.
So you talk about so many things that I talked about in my season 1, how we were handed down ideas and ways of living and all of these things that don't resonate with us. And yet we're kind of carrying that with us, holding the weight, the heavy, squats, 1,000 pounds and all of that. And it's just like finding that like true going inwards, like finding that connection, that what do I really want, that purpose, that legacy to fulfill. And that's why we kind of connected on that stuff.
Absolutely.
So do you think you have the blueprint? Do you think the Buffalo Status offers that blueprint? And if so, how can we get it?
Yes, well, I do think that Buffalo Status is definitely going to be a part of that person developing a sound blueprint for themselves, because it's a concept, it's a tool that allows them to really face fear. And for me, it used to take a while to face a fear, which is prolonging things, right? Now I face fear, I feel like in almost damn near 30 seconds, right? Because I go through the 4-step process. But I do feel like everyone's blueprint is going to have a set of tools as well as material to build the right structure. That makes sense. And so for me, I do feel like it's definitely going to be a Buffalo Status could be a definitely good tool to build a great foundation.
So when we talk about like tailored blueprints for people, because I also kind of talked about it, because we're all going through the human experience. We have those packages that we carry throughout our ancestors, upbringing, people, all of that, and we're still carrying with us. And then the moment that you realize that you're like, wait, I no longer want all of that, even though we are alike, but there are those differences, because again, definition of success is different, what I want is different, socioeconomic statuses are different. What is like what is like one main status that you can help everyone kind of like get on board and be like, this is number one that everyone has to do or must do?
Yeah, and it may sound as simple. This might sound simple, but it's the truth. Radical acceptance.
Hit them right. Accept, man. Yes,
radical acceptance of who you are, where you are, where you've been, what has happened to you, and literally just radically accepting just that, the good and the bad things. Because the human experience, as you know, is one that we all have individually. There is no one human experience that is the same. No matter if you lived in the same style house,
Yep.
no matter if you live in the same area, the human experience is different for all of us. But I think that the biggest thing that anyone can do is radically accept who they are, what has happened to them, and where they are at this very moment, and truly accept the person that they're looking at in the mirror.
Yeah.
And that is the only time that you can say, hey, all right, everything else, now I can move from this point. But most people don't realize they haven't radically accepted who they are.
I think acceptance is the hardest thing. And I think that's one of the main reasons. And you said it's simple. It is simple, but it's like the hardest thing. And that's, as humans, even the most simple things, we struggle to like actually deal with them. It's kind of like what I said, like in season 1, I was like, once you accept your reality, that's when you can start your journey to fulfill your legacy. And that's like, again, we're like touching on the same stuff from different experiences, even though it's a human experience, but you had your own blueprint, I had my own blueprint, and we're kind of trying to get to that legacy, to that success that we want, but in different ways. And I think that's incredible. But it's just so weird because, you know, in grief or in any kind of like stages in life, accepting certain things is the hardest thing. And there are times where people just never even reach it. So like how did Raymonn accept the radical reality of his life after, especially because you repeated shame so many times, there is that, you know, like pushing back and forth within yourself. What was the point where you're like, I'm just going to accept who I am and I'm just going to move forward from here?
Yeah, you know, I think as kids, things happen to us that's out of our control. And I had to let go of some of those things because for me, I actually experienced SA or sexual assault. I don't know if you can say that on air or
You
podcast.
can say whatever you want.
But you know, I was molested as a child, and that shame made me go inward, you know, and it made me feel less than. And when I was able to grow up and become that man that could stand on his own 2 feet, and I can fight for myself, and then I can fight for that young cat back in the day who had no understanding of what was happening, then I literally was like, well, shit. So then now I go protect him. And he's still there, right? And so what I had to be able to do is go back and reach for that young man and say, hey, you totally fine. And then bring him back to where I'm at today. And that allowed me to actually see my life totally different because I was out of my control as a youngster. And now the things are more in my control. And so what I can do now is help that young man that was 10 years old, 11 years old, all the way up to 16, 17-year-old before sharing whatever really happened. Now I'm in control of what happens next. And I feel like if most people can remove shame from radically accepting what has happened and where they are today, then that's a big part of being able to clean up what happens emotionally to you if you let those things hang on to your mindset.
That's really heavy. I'm sorry about that. I feel like there's never the right word to like say what it needs to be said about that kind of stuff. But it's a huge step for you to be like, okay, wait, I had no control over this, but now it's a time for me to actually reach for that child and be like, no, you're okay. And we're going to move through this. And, you know, sexual assault, it's a huge thing, especially at a young age. It can form so many things in your head. And you become a victim for a really long time. And that's something that I kind of talk about too in my first season, is how we just kind of want to stay the victim. And it's okay because we were the victim at once, and there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is staying the victim and blaming things. But it's such a heavy topic for you to be like, I'm going to take charge and I'm no longer the victim. And that could be implemented in so many scenarios in our life, not just about that. So yeah, I'm sorry, that's like super heavy, but for you to take that step, like what do you want to say to people that have experienced that kind of stuff? To be kind to like.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me saying, and I think we're on the same page. I think we're saying the same thing, but to be a victim is to remain in it. You were victimized.
Yes.
So once you're a victim and then you've shared your grievance and what's happening to you, then you were victimized. Now you must actually from that point march forward in a way to where, yes, it did happen, radically accepting it. And so you're no longer the victim, because the victim, the world will try to tell you you are a victim. Well, then if you're identifying with being a victim, well, then you're going to do victim things.
Again, that mentality.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because your only language is telling you how to operate.
It's very powerful.
Right?
Yes.
So if everybody telling you, hey, you are a victim, well, you're going to continue to respond as a victim because, hey, I've identified being a victim. And so people see me this way. And so I have to carry myself this way in everything I do. When truthfully, it's like, no, I was victimized. I've actually worked through this situation. I've really, really worked through the situation. I didn't just try to play it off to the side that it was just something that happened and, hey, I'm so strong and I just want to move on. No, it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's more of, hey, I was victimized. Let me actually truly interpret, go through what I actually experienced, work through those, the emotional feelings that I felt, shame, guilt, and anything else that came along with that. And then now it's time for me to actually say, hey, all right, close that off, victimized. I'm a stronger individual for now knowing what it is that I experience so that I can either protect myself and know anybody who needs protecting in the future.
Yeah. That's a beautiful put words to get, like victimized. I'm going to start using it from now on. Copyright, Raymonn Adams. But no, that's exactly like what I wanted to say. It's like things happen to us, but if we continue playing the victim, we're never going to own like what happened to us and like move forward from that point. So yeah, that's a beautifully said. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, so okay, so now the Buffalo status, you're working on that. You can give people the blueprint to help them kind of get there, but you're also working, last time we spoke, you were also working on something about audio positive affirmation app. I don't know. Did that ever happen? Do you still need my voice to tell people?
I would love to. Yes. Hey, you have the perfect soothing voice to do that.
I can speak. What happened to that project?
So that
what is happening?
All right,
Tell
so
me.
you're talking about SOVA, which is self-optimizing voice affirmations.
Yes.
And I built. So my background, I'm a web developer by trade. So I learned a self-taught web developer. And so I would do that while I was playing ball and when my teammates were going out and partying and hanging out, which no knock on them, we all did. And we all still do. But the idea, I used to love just going in and started coding, right? Just coding. But I kept the same habits even when I, stopped playing ball and everything. And now in the day and age of like, that's an idea that I want to develop. And so I created the self-optimizing voice affirmation so that I can be able to share, not just with myself. I can have, when I wake up in the morning, affirmations are actually playing. Not only are they playing, but they're playing with my voice. Because the best voice in your mind. Or my
voice.
Yeah.
That's true. You're speaking the words for yourself. Sorry.
Absolutely. And the best voice that you could ever have in your head is your own. Right? And so the opportunity to be able to hear myself, tell myself that I am capable of achieving $1 million a year in whatever company or opportunity or a concept, then it's best for me to be telling me that, not someone else. But if you feel like you want to hear someone else's voice, soft and soothing and very, very sturdy, well, then definitely you can listen to Aya's voice. However, the platform allows you to create a affirmation, which I talk about the formula of developing affirmations, because a lot of people are developing these or creating these affirmations entirely wrong in a way to where they're not allowing themselves to truly see it the correct way or be talked to or spoken power into correctly.
I see.
And so that's a big issue I feel like I'm seeing a lot. And so SOVA just is going to solve that problem of bringing those things succinctly to say, hey, here's the right way to actually develop the affirmation. Put your information in, it creates it with you. And then at that point in time, you can put your voice or another voice in it. And then now it can be sent to you, sent to a friend, or you can time it and it'll send to you at any time.
That's so cool. So is it up and running?
It's my personal project right now, but it is live.
Okay.
But it's live only to me. So maybe I'll open that up to the public.
Please do. I'm gonna record my own self and be like, Aya, you can do anything you want. It's gonna be good. You're not victimized anymore. You own this. That's so cool. Seriously, like I'm gonna like put some links in the after this episode and whatnot, you can share all of that with me. But I think that would be such a cool thing to do. Like, that's brilliant. And the
thank you.
name also
Yeah.
sounds soft anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's really cool. So when Raymonn is going through hard times now, at today's age, you've achieved this definition of success for now, but we all still face challenges because life is a bitch.
Absolutely.
How do you catch yourself when you're like, wait, I'm thinking negative? I'm like, how does Raymonn stop and then implement that blueprint of Buffalo status?
Yeah. So what's interesting is a part of what I teach in Buffalo status is that 4 steps, right? And part of that whole process is understanding that anytime you sense hesitation or you have any sort of fear, your body is actually telling you already. Like, you've walked into rooms to where it's like you are around people where it's like, this doesn't feel good. Or you get into a conversation and you had like this conversation with some loved one and you know that they was kind of like not talking loving about a person that you love, and they kind of came to you wrong, creating a whole bunch of extra, and whatever situation that may be, your body is already communicating with you because your body keeps the score from anything that you've actually experienced in your whole entire life. And so therefore, if you walked down an alley and it was daylight, you have a total different feel than it was when it was dark. So if you go in New York City, daylight, alleyway, totally fine. New York City, dark at nighttime, same alleyway, your spidey senses are like, whoa. Well, that's the same thing in any other situation. Your body keeps the score. And when your body is keeping a score, it's doing it automatically. So that there are some times you'll probably walk around somebody and maybe, for me, it's my shoulders. My shoulders get really, really intense when I'm thinking about something that's very heavy on me, right? So therefore, if you could really identify those things, then you can start to work on those things. And now you can stop yourself to say, hey, what am I actually experiencing?
I see. It's pretty nice. So you're Raymonn, you're walking around and you're like, my right shoulder, something doesn't feel right. And then you're like, Buffalo status activated. Is that how it goes? Or what?
Yeah, somewhat like Superman. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome because I can relate to a lot of this, like through my chest. I get like heavy chest feeling and I'm like, wait, something is not right. And I can definitely relate to that. So listening to our bodies is apparently extremely important. It's a first little trick of like notice. So the awareness, when it comes in, of that self-awareness of when something is happening, you catch it. But, such a busy life we live, we want to ignore the cues. We don't want to deal. We want to become the cow, run away from the storm instead of becoming a buffalo and just facing it. Even though the buffalo and the cow running towards or away, they're both going to experience that pain.
Absolutely.
But then with the buffalo, you're just going for it, doing it, and then with the cow, it's just elongated and it's going to last so much longer.
Absolutely.
So become the buffalo. Raymonn says, become the buffalo. This is interesting. So what about, because I know you have kids. Is it just the son or a daughter and a son?
I have a older daughter and a younger son.
Okay.
So 2.
How are you implementing those positive affirmations for them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about affirmations is truthfully how you speak. It shouldn't be like this sort of like, okay, we're gonna take time now to, get on our knees and then sit down and then put our hands together. That's not how it works. It's literally, that there are certain things that you want to achieve in life. And let's just say, for example, let's just use numbers. My son is the fastest hurdler in the United States, right? Fastest hurdler. And he just went down and broke the junior high state meet record. And truthfully, the whole entire 2 to 3 months leading up to it, the number that we put in his head is what he was shooting for.
Whoa.
Right?
Okay.
Now, he didn't get that number. He blew that number out of the water. So therefore, in his mind, it was like, that's what I want to actually achieve. And then there was another athlete who also developed. She, I think, ran no better than a time that just wouldn't put her, in the top maybe 3 to 4 to 5. Well, when I was training her, I told her that in May, every time, and I don't know if you know much about how the whole entire process goes, but you think about this, when we are working on block starts, right? Okay. And the athlete gets in a set position, the gun goes off, right? But we use clappers so that we're not shooting guns at practice. Right?
Okay, good.
So every time that I would clap, I would tell her, that's May. And May is when the big meet was at, right?
Okay.
Because she just wanted to be a state champion. So she had some competitors that we always made sure that she knew was still present. And I was like, run, take your mark, see it, and I would clap, pow. But every single time after that, I would remind her, when I clap these, what are you thinking? She say, May.
Wow.
So every time I'm, pow, she's thinking, May. And even when we're not in the blocks, I would say, when I clap this, pow, May.
Reinforcement so with all of that.
All she and her, every single time that she was in a race or she heard those two, that clap, May.
Wow.
So she came out there and she also broke the state meet record.
Dude, that's amazing. Okay, so Raymonn doesn't just kind of like sells the buffalo status. He doesn't like meet someone and they're like, oh, let's talk. Let's sit and talk about the buffalo status. It's you lead with it. You live it. You practice it every day with your, athletes, with your kids, with everyone around you. So that's, how long did it take you to truly become this implementer with those things? Was it hard? Was it easy? Was it something that you just promised yourself that you have to do?
I do believe that the apple don't fall too far from the tree. And no matter how steep the hill, right? So if the apple falls from the tree and the hill is very, very, very steep to where it can roll very, very far away, well, that apple is still from that tree. And so to me, if you have a upbringing or an environment that is always making you see that there are bigger and brighter and more amazing things, well, then that's what you're going to always be searching for.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to always be seeing and identifying. But if someone has brought you up to see the negative, then that's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
Is every single way that this possibly cannot happen. And so I do feel like with every athlete that I've developed, we've utilized affirmations in a way that they may not even realize that they're using affirmations, but they are.
Okay. Wow. I'm going to read this book again, get some positivity in my head. But this has been such an incredible conversation about all of this positivity. You think positive, you become positive. You think negative, you become negative. So be careful what you think, because that's what you will become, technically, is what you're saying.
You're telling yourself that.
Yes. Yeah. And Raymonn, we have to wrap up. This has been an amazing conversation. I'm really excited we can advertise for this book. Please find this book. Raymonn, you'll tell us later. It's an easy read. I mean, if you're a parent and you really want to implement these positive stuff, affirmation to your kids, go for it. Even if you're just a person and you just want your own affirmation, it's a quick read. But before we wrap up and kind of call it a day, is there a comment or a question that you want to leave us with to ponder on?
There's a comment or a question. I think the biggest thing that I would always say, though, Aya, is my personal goal in life is to lead someone greater than myself. And in order to actually even say something like that, you yourself have to be doing something of a higher standard. You have to be reaching for something big and great and awesome. Not for validation, but more so just to say, hey, it's possible. And if there would be one thing that I would say for anyone is to say, what am I doing on a day-to-day basis to potentially help someone be greater than myself? And so whether that's, again, owning a $1 billion business or going out and starting a daycare that teaches kids how to do whatever that's amazing in this world, or if it's starting a youth program, not just in sports, but maybe language, maybe some sort of craft or skill that then also pays it forward to the next generation. And I would say, if you have that heart, then what are you doing to leave someone greater than yourself?
Thank you. That's part of your legacy that you want to leave behind.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Raymonn Adams. This has been such a pleasure. I'm so excited for everyone to hear about this conversation. Thank you, and to be continued. This podcast is produced by Main Floor Media. Created, executive produced, and hosted by Aya Karuni. Creative producer, Hank Ball. Co-produced, Thais Murias-Jarcin. Set designer and production assistant, Frida Thailander. Hairstyling for me, Anastasia Jennings. Plants and floral elements provided by Grateful Growers and Carbon Coffee Lounge. Additional support provided by Dr. Ron Braille, Jim Walker, Haifa Sleiman, and Widad Sleiman. With gratitude to our title sponsor, Carbon Coffee Lounge. All right, next episode of You and Aya is Dr. Ron Braille, July 29th. Stay tuned. Do you want a lecture? Do you want a TED Talk? I don't know. Find out. Let's go all the way back to the apes 300 million years ago. It's pretty interesting. Oh, wait, go up, click the link and do your thing. Subscribe, like me, listen to me, whatever you have to do. Share it with your homies. To be continued.